everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. In today's video, I want to talk about inflation and some of the things you can do to prepare and insulate yourself from its effects. But first, let's take a look at some of the market action this morning. It looks like the rotation from overpriced tech stocks and into commodities like gold, silver, and oil is set to continue today. As I'm recording this video, Netflix stock is way down in pre-market trading, down almost 20% on news that they missed on their expected subscriber numbers. And factoring in this drop, you can see that Netflix is down about 40% from its highs in October of 2021. That is, of course, a massive loss for holders of Netflix stock, and Netflix is just one of many overbought US tech stocks that has moved into bubble territory over the past 2 years, and now is suffering greatly as 2022 gets underway. Not so much for silver. You can see here that silver is down a small amount today, but after the run up from under $23 to about $24.50 that we've had over the past couple trading sessions, a small consolidation is completely natural and to be expected. But I think that any of these small dips represent buying opportunities, because I think it is likely that this bull run in silver is just getting underway and there is much more to come. Barring some kind of a market-wide pan sell-off, the future is looking very bright for silver indeed, as talk from the Fed of tightening monetary policy is beginning to prick the bubbles in assets like tech stocks and cryptos, and inflation continues to be a significant problem. Speaking of inflation, I think it is going to be very interesting when we begin to get the CPI numbers for 2022, because unless they make some significant adjustments to how they calculate the CPI, I think we're really going to begin to see how big of a problem inflation is and how it is absolutely not a transitory phenomenon in any way, just as the massive amount of fiat currency creation has not been a transitory phenomenon. So with inflation set to continue the erosion of the dollar's value, what can we all do to get prepared? Let's talk about it. First of all, you guys know I am the Smart Silver Stacker. So of course, one of the things that I am going to do to get prepared is stacking real hard money in the form of physical silver bullion. The nice thing about silver as money is that it can't be printed. If you want to inflate the supply of silver, you have to actually dig it out of the ground. Much more difficult than pressing a few buttons on a computer terminal at the Fed. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you've probably already heard me speak about inflation and silver stacking at great length, so I won't say much more about it in this video, but if you are new to the channel, first of all, thanks for tuning in and welcome, and if you're getting some value from this video so far, please do me a favor and give it a big thumbs up down below. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and why not subscribe so you can see more videos about inflation and silver going forward. So sure, stacking precious metals like gold and silver, hard money that's been used as a store of value for thousands of years, that can help to preserve your purchasing power from the ravages of inflation, but what else can we do to get prepared? Well, here's a few simple steps you can take to thrive in an inflationary environment. First, if you need to buy something, don't wait. Anything you're buying on a regular basis, whether it be clothing or toiletries or shelf-stable food or office supplies or cleaning products, I mean, this list could go on for a long time, but you get the idea. Anything you buy on a recurring basis, stock up on it now. The prices for these consumer products are only going to be moving higher, and if you know you'll need them and you have some extra cash and some room to store them, you might as well spend your fiat now before it loses even more purchasing power. The official CPI in 2021 was 7%, but I think we all know that that understates real inflation considerably. Just look at prices at your local convenience store or supermarket, and you know that prices in many goods are actually rising a lot faster than that. Second, have a backup plan for critical equipment. In addition to eroding the purchasing power of the dollar, inflation can also make certain products scarce or impossible to find altogether. Although recent shortages have been blamed constantly on supply chain issues, it's not an unusual thing for citizens in countries experiencing significant inflation to find that many shelves at the store are simply empty. This scarcity issue can be made a lot worse if the government comes in and tries to address inflation with price controls, which is something we may well see before this whole inflationary fiat experiment comes to its conclusion. So, if there's a piece of equipment you need to do your job or run your business and there's a chance of it failing, you might want to take advantage of the relative abundance that we still enjoy and get a backup now. For example, a lot of people began working remotely over the past 2 years for reasons I can't mention because I'll be punished by the YouTube algorithm. But if you use a laptop or PC to get your work done from home, maybe now's a good time for an upgrade, and you can keep your old computer as a backup because the last thing you want is to not be able to bring in an income because laptops and computer chips are back ordered by 6 months. And this is just one example. There's lots of equipment that businesses and workers rely on these days, and we are all very accustomed to the culture of Amazon 2-day delivery. So it might be worthwhile to do an inventory of the equipment and products you rely on and make sure that if something fails or you run out, you won't be left in a pickle if a replacement is not readily available. Third, use debt wisely. Now, I want to mention this one cautiously because I am absolutely not suggesting that anyone go out and rack up a bunch of credit card debt. But if you have an opportunity to borrow at a low rate to purchase an asset before major inflation kicks in, is a good time to do this. The reason for that is that while inflation does erode the purchasing power of the dollar, it also erodes the value of debts that are denominated in dollars. Think about it. If you've got a loan that you're paying 5% annually on and inflation is running at 7%, it's as if your debt shrinks by 2% annually because you're paying it back in devalued currency. And of course, I'm not advising anyone to go take on debt. None of this is financial or investment advice. It's just food for thought, but this is something very important to be aware of in regards to inflation. There's a reason that the rich get richer when inflation cranks up. The wealthy frequently use debt to purchase assets like stocks, homes, art, gold, cars, boats, you name it. And as inflation drives up the value of their assets, they can pay back those debts with depreciating dollars and build wealth rapidly. So the best thing you can do in regards to debt is study its use and find out how it can benefit you in an inflationary environment. 4. Learn to make things last. Like I mentioned, when inflation really gets out of control, it's possible for all sorts of products to be in short supply. There may not be a new washer or dryer available if yours breaks. There may not be that part available for your car. Or, as we've seen recently, there may not be any mechanics because of the worker shortages that inflation can create. So, the more you can learn about keeping things running yourself and with as few inputs as possible, the better off you'll be and the more insulated you will be from the economic downturns and supply shortages. 5. Stock up on essentials. The last thing I'll mention in today's video is that you want to make sure you're stocked up on essentials. The beans, bullets, and band-aids, as many preppers refer to them. If you look at places where inflation has gotten really bad, like Zimbabwe and Venezuela, you'll see that people struggle to meet even their basic needs. Essentials like food, water, and grid power can become intermittent and unreliable, and you need to make sure that you can take care of yourself and your family if that occurs. And while I don't think it's likely that inflation alone will get so bad in the US that large numbers of people are starving as a result, with the state of the world at the moment, the likelihood that inflation will be the only challenge we face seems pretty unlikely. Inflation alone might not be enough to make access to food, water, medicine, and power unreliable, but if you combine inflation with something like a military conflict in Europe or the Pacific, maybe a cyber attack or cyber warfare, or even just a natural disaster, access to the basics could really become spotty for some people, even if it's only for a limited time. So make sure that you are not just stacking silver. Stack some food, stack some water or a way of getting clean water, and make sure you have a way of defending yourself, because if we've learned anything from the past 2 years, it's that it's quite possible for civil unrest to break out and erode law and order, and if people's money stops buying what they need, a lot of people are going to be very upset, and that could become a real possibility. So those are just some things that you can do to get ready for the inflation that's coming. Not a complete list by any means. If you have some suggestions for preparing for inflation, then please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe, and I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker, out.